The big interview happened. The media can finally end their incessant whining that she hasn't given them content. And like we've been saying on this program, she needs to do a sit-down interview. She needs to answer some more specific questions. But that's for like the small d democratic importance of it. All they cared about was getting content. And they were just pissed that they couldn't monetize it to this degree.
Well, and also, don't go to Dana Bash and CNN would be my advice.
She framed every question from the right, every single question. And on the one time when she needed to follow up on Israel policy, Dana just moved on to the next question. And I mean, it was incredible. The number of rapid fire questions that seemingly came from the Trump campaign attack line playbook was just stunning to see, but not, I guess, unexpected. And for Harris's purposes, it's probably good that she answered these questions and took tough questions in this way as she pivots to the center in a general election. So there were some really good moments. The moment about Israel policy was pretty awful, and we'll be talking about that with Jeet in just a bit. But this part was interesting here because Dana Bash asks Kamala Harris about Donald Trump and how he mentioned that she, quote, turned black. I really, really like how Harris responded to this in the sense that she really didn't at all. This is refreshing. The Democrats have finally learned how to run against Trump. Here we go.
Republican. I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about some foreign policy.
Then we get to the Israel stuff, but that was really it. That she just didn't respond. Let's not engage on this front. I'm going to make my case. He's not going to drag me into the muck.
She's running scared, see?
And she hasn't emphasized the historic nature of her candidacy at all. Dana Bash did point that out to her at some point, and she was quick to continue to de-emphasize it because she's trying to make this about what she would do for the public as opposed to like some kind of self-aggrandizing personal display. And that's just good strategy, right? Like when Hillary Clinton made it all about herself, "I'm with her" was her slogan. That's not
ready for Hillary. Like, who should care?
Right. She cares.
Crazy.
She cares because she's
and the
built
party
up,
cared, but
and,
the American people need to.
And they bought into the mythology of this person. I mean, there are many criticisms, I think, of the Democratic Party over these past few decades that Harris is breaking with a bit, but like the lauding of these politicians as if they're gods to a degree and building them up oftentimes at the expense of like actually governing and gaining power, anointing people like Hillary Clinton, or having octogenarian politicians cling on to power like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for example, instead of her replacement, because she was basically this kind of Democratic Party deity. That's just bad politics, and I'm happy to see a break from that to a degree. Another interesting part of this interview, if we could just go back to that, Matt, I did this out of order, actually, but before that question, Dana Bash asked her broadly about basically, some of her changes in policy, because she walked back things like her support for the Green New Deal and the fracking ban element, which Dana Brash followed up like 4 or 5 times on, not much on Israel.
Cough, Pennsylvania, cough, cough.
Exactly. It's the most obvious kind of way
Wedge.
to right, exactly. It's politics. She's ruling out a fracking ban because she wants to win Pennsylvania. That's basically it. But in the Democratic primary in 2019, or in 2020 in that race, but in 2019, she took a lot of positions, as did so many of those Democrats in that incredibly crowded field, that were, ranging from disingenuous to cynical to like trying to balance getting the Bernie wing of the party and also general election and swing state voters. So it puts her in this bind, right? And it's less to do with her flip-flopping, which Trump does 5 times a day. We don't know where he stands on anything at any given moment, because he's just trying to win the conversation and then move on to the next one. It has more to do with the fact that primary, I think, forced a lot of Democrats to take positions to
cut off Bernie.
To cut off Bernie, right? That maybe and also, to just get a piece in the middle to try to split that baby to win that primary, and it's not necessarily indicative, I think, of her as a politician more broadly, but she answered in terms of the policy positions, but it does show that she's a cipher to a degree. This is how she answered the questions about flip-flopping.
Look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy. Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America, and by extension the globe, around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. In 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus. And it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
yes,
in mind?
I would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse. But I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
Okay. So on the substance, what can we say here, right? This is not stuff we're going to agree with. This is.
I think it's right that this is more true to her long-term values than was the 2020 primary. I think she's sincere about I am tough on the border. What are you talking about? I was California Attorney General.
I think that's a fair way to phrase it, right? I mean, This happened after Dana Bash repeatedly pressed her on the issue of fracking and the issue of the border. So that's how they're trying to frame this, right? They're trying to frame it within the branding of her as a prosecutor, that she's tough on the transnational criminal organizations, human traffickers. She kept repeating that over and over again. The Republican part amused me because this was asked of Biden. It was also asked of Obama. It was also asked of Hillary Clinton. This happens every general election.
Obama,
and they always say yes, and then they usually pick someone strategically, and that in a basically ceremonial way, or to give Democrats an advantage by, like, say, the rumor is, it's more, this is definitely fan fiction.
Or they just keep on the FBI director as a Republican.
Or that, but something to that effect, right? The fan fiction is that she selects Susan Collins for something, and then a Democrat gets to appoint a Democrat in that Senate seat. But
Just fine, because
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Also, Becca Lewis points out, who is a researcher, PhD candidate. She's done a lot of writing on the right wing. Diversity of opinion line is specifically a right wing strategy developed in the 1970s to move mainstream institutions to their right, and a half century later, it continues to work. Just to put that in the proper context.
Right, exactly. So. It is funny. Labor Lover 420 says, notable that she said she would, but at least she doesn't have anyone in mind. Might be me wish casting, but it sounds like she's kind of bullshitting. I think Matt's right that the prosecutorial element is actually true to who she is. I do think she was BSing there, though, because she's like, no one in mind.
It's like how you say, like, yeah, I'd maybe date a conservative.
Right.
Because you don't want to seem rude.
Yes, that's what it felt like. It felt insincere.
I mean, the Obama era, that Doris Kearns Goodman Team of Rivals book came out, and everyone was just like, oh, you have to have like half your team be like the other party.
Right,
or have a good, that's how, you save the union, apparently.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.